ulama, all of our marhumin and the marhumin who have no one to pray for them, I ask you to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين، سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المأسومين المذلومين، واللعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. وصلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي، يا لثارات الحسين، يا حجة الله، يا ابن الحسن، يا صاحب العصر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. As I've been saying to the youngsters in our afternoon majalis, I've said many times that when it comes to our etiquette towards Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, one of the key things that we're told is to not be stingy with our salawat. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a breath that we can utilize means that we should utilize it for the reasons that He would want us to. And I'm sure we shout louder during cricket matches than we do sometimes with our salawat. So in honor of the perfect 14 alayhim as-salam, inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala al-nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Jazakumullah khair al-jaza. My dearest elders, sisters, brothers, salamun alaykum wa rahmatullah. Belief in the unseen is one of the most critical aspects in Islam. For a believer to truly submit, to be in the state of taslim, it requires a deep and unwavering conviction in what we call the ghaib, the unseen. As we've explored over the last 3 nights, we've acknowledged that society as a whole is very far from this very godly worldview. And therefore, when we look on our phones most of the time, we're not being reminded of the unseen. We're being reminded of just now, now, now. But occasionally, an Instagram post will come and it will say, remember death. Or maybe we'll drive past a masjid and we're like, okay, there's something there about the unseen. Maybe we'll hear the adhan, given that we're in an Islamic country, which is a blessing in of its own right, and we remember the unseen. But typically speaking, our day-to-day engagement is very much lacking much connection with the unseen, and therefore it becomes very difficult to accept it. And from my experience personally, speaking with youth in this community and outside the community, from different countries and cities, and dare I say not just youth but also adults, our belief in the unseen has become massively, massively shaken. Now, whether that's just a time right now or that's something that's happened in the past, I'm not sure. But what's for certain is that families who have taken their children for years upon years to ziyarat, and may Allah grant us all the ziyarat of Imam Muslimin alayhim as-salam, families who have taken their children on ziyarat, on umrah, even hajj, who have even taken them to funerals, their teenage and even 20-year-old children come out and eventually say, I don't really believe that there's a God out there. I don't really believe in the afterlife. The parents panic, they see their children stop praying all of a sudden. Or they see their children that they're not wanting to go to ziyarah anymore, and they think, oh, it may just be a surface level issue. But from my experience, and this is why I wish to address this topic of utmost importance today, it's actually a deeper rooted issue, that they are no longer believing in the unseen. And I wonder whether the parents have invested the time to explain why the unseen is an absolute reality, even if you can't touch it, even if you can't taste it, even if you can't feel it. And if we haven't, then we should never think that our children, let alone ourselves, will not move away from this belief at any point in our life. So inshallah tonight we want to address what I would say is a very urgent issue. And if it's repetitive to some, I'm very sorry, but I do this for the majority. So we're going to do this by firstly defining what is the ghaib, what is the unseen. And maybe just rationalize, is there a problem or is this all just a bit of fantasy? We're going to look at, is there an impact on you and I if we don't believe in the unseen? If your child or if your soul tells you, I'm not sure I believe in it that much, is that much of a big deal? We want to understand how can we prove the existence of the unseen using examples that actually we already use in our day-to-day lives, but we may not even realize that we're engaging with the unseen. We want to try and understand the mechanics behind what is going on in the ghaib. Why is it that we can't access it through the typical tools that we have? And I will say that there is a massive leap of faith that may be required from some of us, if not all of us, to truly jump on that ship and go, yeah, you know what? I now truly am convinced by the unseen. And finally, we'll look to see how this belief in the ghaib transforms our understanding of Ashura and Karbala, where individuals today are telling us, how can a tear of Hussein be worth as much as you present? How is it possible that the ziyarah of Al-Hussein can be this magnanimous? How is it possible that the food distributed after a majlis of Hussein can have so much barakah? I would argue these individuals have a deep misunderstanding of the ghaib and a deep misunderstanding of imamah. So if you'd like to go on this journey together, kindly offer salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Some examples of the ghaib include, and I'm sure none of these will be of much surprise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is in the ghaib. The angels of Allah are in the ghaib, they're in the realm of the unseen. Revelation. How do we know that this angel came down towards the Prophet and delivered to him some sort of message? The journey that the Prophet went on to ascend to the heavens. I recently saw a clip on YouTube where an atheist was going at a Muslim saying, you really genuinely believe that there was a flying horse that took the Prophet to the heavens? How would you react yourself to a question like that? It does sound quite fantasy. Heaven, hell, all of these are within the unseen. Vital concepts, I'm sure you would agree. A Muslim that doesn't have true conviction in Allah, in the angels, in death, in heaven, in hell, in the day of judgment, you haven't got much left, have you? And we're seeing our community get influenced by this. How do they reply to when they feel, yeah, you know what? There isn't an unseen. Is this a problem though? I'll bring some data from the UK, not least because getting data from the UK is easier than getting data from Pakistan, but maybe I don't have the right access or speak Urdu, so that could be why. But there's a deliberate reason as well. And that is this. Our community, whether we like it or not, at the moment, is moving towards a Western ideology. So where the US and the Brits have headed, our community is probably headed in that same direction. And a poll that was done in October 2021 by YouGov, they surveyed British nationals to understand their viewpoint on death. And I'm going to say, look, this is a proxy to see whether society is believing in death, an unseen factor, or not. And they found that just 1/3, 33% of Brits believe in an afterlife. So for those of you who are sending your children for inshallah great educations in the West, know that when they're sat in a group of 3, they're the only ones statistically that actually believe in the unseen. 66% say we don't know. And that is the current main response that I hear from a lot of Muslim youth. Do you believe in akhirah? Yeah. Do you really believe in akhirah? Kind of. Would you sign on the dotted line with all of your savings in your bank account? Definitely not. Okay, so we don't have an absolute belief in the unseen. And this is what we're trying to address. I mentioned that there are many different parts of our life where we're actually passively believing in the unseen, but maybe we don't realize it. When we recite our salah every single day, there is a line that testifies to this. Maliki yawmiddin. The owner or the master of yawmiddin. I say this at least 10 times a day. But do I have real conviction when I say that there is a yawmiddin? Do I genuinely believe Maliki yawmiddin? Because the argument could be put forth, if you truly, truly do believe in Maliki yawmiddin, we would be sinless. We'd be frightened of the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that would take place on yawmiddin. But I'd argue it doesn't affect me that much when I say it every day. It doesn't cross my mind when I say it any day. Many of you as parents will tell your children before you go to sleep or when you first get in a car and drive around, recite Ayatul Kursi. This whole thing, what is it discussing? For example, Ulaika ashabun nar. That these are those who are going to be dwelling in the hellfire. Hum fiha khalidun. And they're going to be in it forever. If I truly believed in these ayahs of in this ayah of Ayatul Kursi, then yeah, no issues. I should be absolutely fine when it comes to sinning. There shouldn't be an issue because I would be genuinely fearful of that justice. In our aqa'id lessons, we're told about Qiyamah and Ma'ad. And we kind of just tick that off as well. We see, for example, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in his will to Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, he says, Hussein bear witnesses that paradise is a fact, hell is a fact, the hour will come, there is no doubt thereof, and because Allah shall raise those who are in their graves. Question: if one of your friends at university or in the workplace came to you and said, I read that the guy who you're commemorating for 10 days said that there's going to be a day where all of those bodies in graves that have been decomposed are suddenly going to come up, be formed again, and take part in a big examination day. Do you really believe that? Can you really back that up? That's what we believe, right? There's going to be a day where we're all going to come out of our graves. Do you really believe that? How much trust and yaqeen and belief, if I just shake you a little bit, do you really have in the unseen? In Ziyarat Ashura, if you were to look at Ziyarat Ashura without any belief in the unseen, it's going to be like the most vanilla ice cream you've ever tasted. How many times we allude to the unseen in this ziyarah? Inni silmun liman salamakum wa harbun liman harabakum ila yawm al-qiyamah. It's not just that I am at peace with you right now, Imam Hussein. It's ila yawm al-qiyamah. Why is it not ila mawti, until my death? Rather ila yawm al-qiyamah. And it continues, Allahumma ja'alni indaka wajihan bil Husayn alayhi salam fi dunya wal akhirah. How strongly do I believe in this conviction? I know I'm laboring the introduction, but what I'm trying to illustrate to you is this: that in so many aspects of our life, we are pointing towards the unseen. We are testifying towards the unseen, but the argument could be made that our actions are completely in opposition to that belief. When we look at the unseen, if we truly add it to our lens of life, it completely changes the game that we're playing in life. What do I mean? Take a sports person, and I'm going to use the example of football. A typical football match is 90 minutes, 2 halves of 45. If you were to tell a footballer halfway through the game, actually, this is 180 minutes, the way that they suddenly start to play is going to change. They're going to conserve some energy. Their decision making is going to change. They may not push as much to score in the first few minutes as they otherwise would. Having an additional understanding of a fact changes the way you approach things. If you add the lens into your eye that the unseen is an absolute reality and your behavior doesn't change, either it's because that thing in the unseen is useless, or it's because the belief in the unseen that we have is not significant. Let me take this further. If on the one hand you believe in the unseen, you say, yes, absolutely, I believe, then when you assess Karbala, it makes a lot of sense. Because if you didn't, Karbala was an absolute mockery and butchery of Ahlul Bayt from a physical perspective. I don't think any historian could deny that, or any Shia could deny that. We got slaughtered. But for some reason we call it a success. Why? Because we have the lens of the unseen with it. But whilst we commemorate this physical beating but eternal success, our life is living towards a physical being only and no eternal being. Why is there a contradiction? And the argument is, perhaps it's because of our lack of belief in the unseen. And what difference can it make? I'd like to share with you a man by the name of Tawbah ibn Summa, a man who believed in the unseen. And you'll see the way that he articulates how he views his life. Very different to how at least I view mine. It's said that this man would spend most of his nights and days examining and purifying his soul, tazkiyah of his soul. And at one point he recounted the number of days that he had lived. And he calculated the figure to be 21,500 days. And he was shocked. 21,500 days. For those of you interested, if you live to 70, that would be 25,000. And for those of you who live to 80, that would be 29,000 days approximately. 25,000 days. What goes through our head when we think about that? I honestly don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Maybe what have I done in my life? How many people have I annoyed? How many biryanis have I eaten? How much money I've spent? I don't know. Many things could go through our mind. But what goes through a man's mind who really believes in the unseen? Who really believes that there is Maliki Yawmiddin and there could be a chance hum fiha khalidun, in this nar of Allah? He says, woe unto me. I will be meeting Allah on the day of judgment, having lived this many days. If I even count that I've committed one sin per day, then I'll be carrying the burden of 21,500 sins. In what state will I be then? The way that the lens of the belief of the unseen changes the way that you live life. Like the sports person, your decisions change all of a sudden. And belief in the ghaib is really not tough to find in the Quran in terms of its significance. Many of us know Surah Al-Fatiha, and many of us know the first page of Surah Al-Baqarah, right on the other side. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaib wa yuqimuna as-salat wa mimma razaqnahum yunfiqun. When you picture a Muslim, typically you're going, this is someone who prays, who fasts, who gives charity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those who believe in firstly what? Al-ghaib. Then he says, and establishes worship, and then says, spends of that which we've bestowed about. Having this understanding and conviction, this yaqeen in the ghaib is vital. Now, we understand there's three different types of yaqeen, because many of you may be sat there going, come on man, I've heard this one before. We have three different types of yaqeen, of conviction. We have aynul yaqeen, when you see something and it's a reality. You see a bridge and you're like, yeah, there's a bridge. You have ilmul yaqeen that tells you, yeah, that bridge is going to hold this car. It's been built very well. And then you have haqqul yaqeen, real deep conviction that if I put my family's car with all of my family members on that bridge and I'm the one that tests it, I know it's going to hold true. Ask yourself, when you say you have yaqeen of the ghaib, of the unseen, do you have knowledge of the unseen? Do you have understanding of the unseen? Or do you have deep-rooted conviction that you're ready to make every decision based on your understanding of the unseen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues in the next verse of Surah Al-Baqarah. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ, and who believe in what has been revealed to you, O Muhammad. وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِن قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ, and what was revealed before you and the hereafter. These individuals, they are certain of faith. هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. These are the guys who are certain of faith. Again, the ghaib is mentioned. Surah Al-Baqarah continues, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Those who have this belief in the ghaib, who establish their prayers, who give what's been given to them, who have deep-rooted conviction in akhirah and in the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those are upon the right guidance from their Lord, and it is these people who are muflihun, these people who will taste falah, who will taste facility and success. But it continues. For those of us who think that we believe in the ghaib, this line may start to shake people like me. Very next verse. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Indeed, those who disbelieve, it is all the same for them, whether you warn them or you don't warn them. They will not believe. Some of us have heard the concept of the Day of Judgment 100, 1,000, 10,000 times in our life. And it's not made one speck of a difference in our actions. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it very clear. Indeed, those who disbelieve, those who see the light and cover it, it is all the same for them, whether you warn them, whether I give this lecture or not to my own soul, or if I don't warn myself, they'll still not believe, still won't care. Allah continues in the next verse, خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ. At this point, you've got a seal upon your heart. وَعَلَىٰ سَمْعِهِمْ, and on your ears, on your hearing. وَعَلَىٰ أَبْصَارِهِمْ, and on your vision as well. غِشَاوَةٌ, there's going to be a veil. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, and for these guys, is عَذَابٌ عَظِيم, is a massive, great, significant punishment. If the discussion of death still hasn't changed us, my question to my own soul is, am I in the camp of those that no longer sees, no longer hears? That no matter what you tell me, I'm just not going to change. So how can we prove this ghaib? Because maybe we're just a bit nervy on it. We see its importance. Maybe we just need to prove it to make sure beyond all reasonable doubt that when my soul falters, I know exactly why I should believe in this. And if you'd like to understand this part of the lecture, kindly offer salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. A youngster will come to you and say, Baba, I can't believe in the ghaib. I don't get it. I don't believe in this Day of Judgment. I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. How on earth are you going to respond to them? We've got to be equipped, right? The first thing you could say is, okay, my son, okay, my daughter, can you confirm whether your mother loves you or not? I'm like, yeah, of course. Okay. Do you believe that your mother has more mercy than any other woman in the world for you? Yeah, absolutely. Can you show me that mercy? They'll be like, yeah, look, she bought me this, she bought me my clothes, look at the food she made, she makes my uniform, whatever. No. My dear son, my dear daughter, listen to me carefully. Those are all the after effects of her mercy. I would like you to point to me her mercy. Where will he or she point? Is it possible to point at the mercy of the mother? Is it possible to touch the mercy of the mother? To taste the mercy of the mother? To listen to the mercy of the mother? Yes, you can listen to the output, but can you touch the actual mercy? No. Would anyone deny that a mother has a special mercy for their child? No way. It stood the test of time, of cultures, of ages. And this is why we're told, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانُ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا, and we've enjoined upon man to his parents good treatment. A side point, my dear younger brothers and sisters, and even older brothers and sisters, if you were to rate your treatment of your parents right now, where would it be? The verse continues, why should you have this special treatment for your mother? حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ كُرْهًا وَوَضَعَتْهُ كُرْهًا, that his mother carried him with hardship and gave birth to him with hardship. One of the many reasons why we should have this extra treatment for our parents. Back to the point, can you point to the mercy of the mother? Nope. Can you touch it? Nope. Can your five senses embrace it? Nope. Can you deny it? Definitely not. It's definitely there. My dear son, my dear daughter, can you tell me whether tomorrow is coming or not? Yeah, of course it's coming. Can you point to tomorrow? No, I can't point to tomorrow. Can you touch tomorrow? I can't touch tomorrow. Can you taste tomorrow? I can't taste tomorrow. Do you deny that tomorrow is coming? No. We have an interesting dilemma here. Let me use a third example, to do with none other than Sayyid al-Shuhada Abi Abdullah al-Husayn salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. If you ever feel a bit of doubt about the concept of imamah, about the significance of Sayyid al-Shuhada, this very gathering is an illustration of the ghaib. How? How many oppressors have tried to stop the remembrance of Abi Abdullah? How many individuals have been killed in the state of remembrance of Abi Abdullah? I'm in a country where this is known to us. It stood the test of time. Hadith literature burned. People imprisoned for what they say about Hussein ibn Ali. Your very existence here in this majlis is an existence of the ghaib. Your very existence here, your very presence, your very participation, your very heat and love within your heart for Hussein is an example of the ghaib. Point to me the love of Hussein. Why is it that every single year for your life you've somehow said, you know what, forget it. Whatever my plans are, these 10 days I'm coming to this majlis. And not just you, but millions and billions that have preceded you, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. Show me one other personality in the world that has had this level of respect towards their name. Dare I say, not even Amir al-Mu'mineen and Rasulullah get this kind of attention on their death. Because Hussein gave everything and more to Allah, so Allah gives everything and more to Hussein. Nabi Ibrahim wonders, oh Allah, I've built this Kaaba, where is everyone? Allah says, don't worry, ya'tuna, they're coming. In the same way, Hussein says, hal min nasirin yansuruna. Where is everyone? Where are my helpers? Don't worry, Hussein, one day they're coming. Your very existence and ziyarah of Hussein is an illustration that you are part of the ghaib. You are part of the infinite plan of Allah. Did you see Allah put you into a certain place? No. Could you touch the love of Hussein that's within your heart? No. Can you tell me, can you point towards that emotion when you see your child for the first time conduct aza on their chest, how that made you feel? There's a special fire within the hearts of the believers for Hussein ibn Ali that will never, ever, ever extinguish. No matter what they do to us, abadan, abadan, abadan will never extinguish. So when they come and tell you that this food of Imam Hussein, or this tear for Imam Hussein, or this azar for Imam Hussein is not as significant as you think, just remember that in the back of your head, that you are a living, walking example of the ghaib, of the impact of Imam al-Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sayyid Ali Qadhi says that his home would be the venue for the weekly remembrance and the gathering of Hussein alayhi salam. And just to come out, before I go back to this, our parents were phenomenal at hosting majalis in their homes. But I have found my generation, who have recently bought their first homes, are less willing to give up their space for the majalis of Hussein. My advice to all parents who have children who have recently bought their first home, go in, put up those black flags and make sure there's a majlis of Hussein there, because your child will thank you at some point. And to those in the same generation as me, stop wasting time and organize a majlis for Hussein. Even if it's you and one other person, let it be, because Sayyida Zahra will be with you if it's sincere, inshallah. And for my youngsters, if your family has not held a majlis for Imam Hussein in your house for a long time, or this year, or dare I say this week, if you ever want to have a majlis of Hussein in your parents' house that you live in, wear some black, make some toast, and hold your own majlis and give that to your parents. And let that spark of Hussein reignite your household. Don't underestimate it. Sayyid Ali Qadhi says that his home would be used for the weekly gathering and remembrance of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He would say, I have to do something for Imam al-Hussein, whether I be illiterate or a scholar. To such an extent that this man, when he would just hear the name of Hussein, he would become uneasy. And whenever this name would be mentioned, he would begin to cry. For Sayyid Ali Qadhi, it was sufficient enough that when a speaker would begin their discussion by sending salam on Hussein, he would just start crying. And it would continue till the end of the speech. He would always say the flow of Allah's grace and blessings through the path of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Moreover, the one charged with the virtue of delivering this grace is the moon of Banu Hashim, Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. These two go hand in hand. What are we seeing? This love of Hussein can't be touched by our five senses, but we can't deny its existence. The same way with anger, you can't deny its existence, but you feel its impact thereafter. We conclude the five senses have a limitation in this world. So we need another tool to decipher what is this feeling of motherhood love, of Husseini love, of anger. How do I touch and believe in the unseen? Well, I can't use the five senses quite clearly. One great way to help your children and to help yourselves remember that there is some sort of ghaib that exists. If you ever are wondering or faltering, and I mentioned this to the youth this afternoon, go and immediately partake in the janazah of someone. If you hear of a funeral, be sure to attend it. If you feel yourself faltering, be sure to attend it. And if you can, go and conduct the ghusl and kafan of that individual. Again, to my parents, if you really, really want your children to believe in the unseen, you go and take part in the ghusl kafan and let them watch you so they walk in your footsteps. Because when you touch a dead body, it is impossible to say that felt the same as how that body felt when it was alive. This very being that was speaking and laughing and joking and beating their chest for Hussein is now lifeless. Can you point towards the death? No, but I can point towards a dead body. Would you then deny death? No, you wouldn't. Which is why the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he has a beautifully concise tradition. Kafa bil maut wa'idha. Death suffices as a preacher. How eloquent. Death suffices as a preacher. Khalas, I could finish my lecture. We can put a dead body lay here, turn the lights off, and then just sit here for an hour staring at that dead body, and I'm sure it will do more of an impact than anything that I try and say. Go and take part in the ghusl kafan. Go and get involved in it. Many of you will know Bilal, the famous mu'adhin of Islam, the first one that made the call to prayer in our faith. When Bilal, this beautiful mu'adhin, was on the verge of dying, his wife, who was beside him, cried out, "Oh, woe that I am being subjected to such a trial." Hearing this, Bilal replied, and he said, "Rather, this is an occasion of happiness and celebration. For what do you know how enjoyable death is?" His wife wept. She says, "The moment of separation has now arrived." Bilal said, "Rather, the time for communion has arrived." The wife says, "Tonight you shall go to the house of the desolate ones." Bilal said, "Rather, my soul shall return to its place of origin." The wife comes back. "After this, then where will I set my eyes upon you?" Bilal said, "In the company of the special servants of Allah." His wife says, "With your passing away, our house and family shall turn into ruins." Bilal says, "This body is similar to clouds. They gather together only to separate from each other just for a short while." When you have this belief in the ghaib, true belief, haqqul yaqeen, deep conviction, you're looking forward to this liqa with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're yearning for this meeting. And I think I mentioned this last year, but I still find these words so fascinating by Shaheed Sibti Ja'far, may Allah elevate his rank. And I know I'll butcher it by saying it in English, but he gives that concept about when you do my ghusl and kafan, don't be sad, for you're dressing me and washing me for my meeting with Allah and the Ahlul Bayt. These kind of guys are ready, man. They're ready to fly. They're looking forward to that day. But there's a second lesson that I see between here of Bilal and his wife. My dear brothers and sisters, when you're looking for marriage, go find a partner who believes in the ghaib. But if you want to find a partner that believes in the ghaib, question yourself, do I even believe in the ghaib myself? Why would they marry me if I don't even believe in it? Have someone who's going to look after you in the perfect way when you depart this world, in the same way that Amir al-Mu'mineen looked after Rasulullah whilst others were not there to be there. Even in Surah Al-Fatiha, we say, Iyaka na'budu. This is us physically trying to be an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And immediately after we say, Wa iyaka nasta'een. And to you we ask for help. All of us say we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. Oh Allah, alleviate me of my debts. Oh Allah, cure the sick individuals. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of our awaited Savior. Dua, 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 dua. Every single day we make dua. Oh Allah, protect my children. We're saying words that testify to the fact that there is an unseen. Because do you see Allah's hand come into the world? No. You believe that He has operations that go on beyond your understanding. Our belief in the unseen should be unwavering, like how we recite a dua. But if we have such conviction, Iyaka nasta'een, that you alone will help me, we need to have the same conviction in our akhirah and in Yawm al-Qiyamah. We know the unseen now exists, I hope. I hope now you're like, okay, I know I can't touch it and I just have to submit to this. But it does beg a question, who has knowledge of this unseen? I don't have it, you don't have it, maybe we have glimpses of it, but who truly has knowledge and ma'rifah of this unseen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very clear, Wallah ghaybu samawati wal arth. And to Allah belongs the unknown secrets of the heavens and the earth. وَعِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِحِ الْغَيْبِ يَعْلَمُهُ إِلَّا هُ. And him are the key, and with him are the keys of the unseen that no one knows except for him. Question. Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have all of the knowledge of the unseen with him? Yes. Can Allah give Nabi Isa the ability to take someone from deaf to alive? Yes. Can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give to Nabi Musa a staff that can change into an animal and vice versa? Yes. Can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give some aspects of the knowledge of the unseen to the A'imma alayhim as-salam? Yes. That doesn't mean that the A'imma know all of it. It means that the A'imma are given it by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for those who tell us that the A'imma don't have ilm al-ghayb, they need to question their logic just slightly. But in any case, a beautiful line from Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajfir. And in fact, for this line, this is a line that one of our teachers repeats in almost every single class and emphasizes. I love this line of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and when I share it with you, you'll realize. So in honor of Haydar al-Karrar, the one who readied Husayn ibn Ali and Zainab for Yawm al-Ashura and what then came after, kindly offer a salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Amir al-Mu'mineen comes out with a phenomenal statement. Yesterday he was an academic, today he's a philosopher. Amir al-Mu'mineen reported to say, if the veils were to be removed, my certainty would not be increased. What does that mean? If you bring a dead body here in front of us, many of us will be like, whoa, I'm starting to see things I've never seen. At the moment of death, when we finally see angels coming towards us, we'll be like, whoa, I'm starting to believe things and I'm probably going to act in a different way. If we go through all the way towards the day of judgment and we start to see bodies being raised from graves and we're raised from a grave, we'll be like, whoa, I'm starting to change my conviction. There definitely is a haqq, there definitely is a Lord. When we're shown towards the metaphorical doors of heaven and hell, we'll be like, oh my God, my conviction is increasing. This wasn't a lie this whole time. Imagine how many things in ilm al-ghayb exist. Yet Amir al-Mu'mineen says, you take away all of these veils, my conviction is not going to change. He has this conviction from day one. That is haqqul yaqeen. That is the yaqeen that we need to try and strive to have within our families, to prosper, to reach success. So how do I take this leap? inspired by Amir al-Mu'mineen, how do I take this leap to try and have this haqq al-yaqeen in the ghaib? For my younger brothers and sisters, this example is for you. Maybe my elders, you'll be familiar. You guys have a choice between who you follow. There'll be those who appear on your phones all the time and you'll be like, yeah, I want to follow these guys, they're cool, man. And you've got the other team who look a little bit more boring, a little bit more plain, probably not eating the nicest of foods, pretty simple guys, but beautiful in morals. If you had two camps, camp number one filled with the Prophet and the A'imma, and all of the noble scholars and shuhada, and all of the noble mu'mineen and mu'minat from across the world in one side, and on the other side, you have all of your favorite celebs, all of your favorite football players, all of your favorite whoever. And you've got to put the £1 million that I've just given you on which side is going to heaven. Where would you put your money? All of you would say, fine, I'll put it to this side. None of you would say, I'm undecided. It would be daft to say I'm undecided, right? £1 million, you'll make double returns. I'm not advocating betting. You're going to put it on this side. The Prophet's of course going to make it to heaven. Amir al-Mu'mineen's of course going to make it to heaven. Andrew Tate's not going to make it. Yes, I mentioned Andrew Tate. Tomorrow's lecture is entitled Andrew Tate and the Dunya. I don't know, so we'll do something like that. We had a 2-hour debate about Andrew Tate in Dubai, by the way, whether he should be a role model for the youth or not. The conclusion is no. But we can have this debate maybe tonight with the youth session, which starts at 11 p.m. inshallah. If you want to join, then feel free to ask and we'll give you the location. Anyway, camp 1, the Anbiya, the A'imma, the pious individuals. Camp 2, the others and their likes. You got £1 million, you'll make double. Where are you putting your money? Of course in camp 1. You can't say, I'm not going to make a decision. Why is it that when it comes to our soul, we go, actually, for the moment, I'm not going to make a decision. I'm just going to sit here on the fence, and that's going to be where I'm comfortable. With money, we're willing to put it there to get a return, but with our soul, we're not willing to put it. Why? What's blocking us? Perhaps it's the temptation that really wants me to be on this side. Actually, that temptation is worth more than eternity of success. My dear brothers and sisters, a very, very, very important point here. You usually hear the following 3 phrases: theism, the belief in a God; atheism, the denial of a God; and being an agnostic, being in the middle. In Islam, we believe that the word iman means faith or belief. Our scholars will tell us that iman, belief, is when you understand something and your actions match it. If you have actions without belief, it's pretty useless. And if you have belief without actions, it's pretty useless. If you have a decision to make, am I going to put my soul in the camp of the Anbiya and the A'imma, or in the camp of this side? These guys are commanding me to tell the truth. These guys are commanding me do whatever the hell you want. If I say, actually, I'm going to abstain, I'm not going to pray, because I'm not sure yet, you've made the decision to not pray. Your conviction may say pray, but your action said, I didn't pray. Plus and minus makes a negative. You don't believe. You need 2 pluses to make sure this works. When you say, I'm not sure, or when you say, actually there is a God, but I'm not going to pray, or I'm not going to wear this garment, or I want to wear this garment, whatever the case, you're saying, I believe, kind of. Belief, kind of, in Islam means there is no follow-through, there is no belief. Remove that ego of the soul that wants that lustful desire or that lower desire, and take it like you would with your money and chuck it into the safe bet. Be safe. Play safe. A beautiful discussion takes place between an atheist and one of the best geniuses of the world, Imam Ja'far and Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And I think this example resonates with a lot of us. where we're like, do I believe in the unseen? Do I believe in akhirah? Do I believe in death? I kind of just want to live a good life. He's having this debate with the atheist. Imam Sadiq says to him, if the case is as you stated, i.e., there is no God, there is no judgment day, there is no ghaib, etc., etc. If the case is as you stated, O atheist, even though it's not true, then all of us will be rescued. Right? If there's no afterlife, khalas, there's no impact on anyone, we're just whatever. But if the case is as we state, that there is Yawm al-Qiyamah, there is a heaven and a hell, there is a fire that you could end up in forevermore, then we'll be rescued, and you, my friend, are stuffed. That's not what the Imam said, but you get the point. So where are you putting your soul? Which camp? You have 4 probabilities, and one of them gives you the opportunity for eternal damnation. Why pick that option? Why risk it? You wouldn't put your money there. Why would you put your soul there? Logic doesn't check out. And as I've said many times, you can say, I'll make the decision tomorrow. I'll make the decision at the end of Muharram. Whatever that vice is that you need to get rid of, or whatever that good deed is that you need to encourage, or that wajibat, you can say, I'm going to do it tomorrow, do it tomorrow, do it tomorrow. At some point, وَمِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. There's going to be this barrier. And that's it. You died as per your belief, and your belief in that moment was what you thought with your action, otherwise it doesn't count. And as Amir al-Mu'mineen tells us, إِنَّ الْخَلْقَ لَا مَقْصَرَ لَهُمْ عَنِ الْقِيَامَةِ, that there is no escape for people from the day of judgment. You can't run away from it. And this is where when you look towards those who were killed in Karbala, they have this unwavering conviction in it. Look at what Zuhair ibn Qayn on the night of Ashura says to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He knows what's coming the next day. If there was ever a time to chicken out, this would be the moment. He says, O grandson of the Prophet of Allah, by Allah, I would rather be killed than revived 1,000 times in support of you. Moreover, I wish my killing, I would sacrifice my life for you and of the Hashemite youths. Full conviction. And you compare that to Umar ibn Sa'd. By Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, Umar ibn Sa'd is given a choice. You go kill Hussein, and you keep your governorship of Ray. You don't kill Hussein, and I'm taking that governorship away from you. You listen to that music, and you'll face justice for it one day. You don't listen to that music, and you'll find eternal bliss. You can make your own example. Zuhair ibn Qayn chooses correctly. Umar ibn Sa'd goes on to facilitate the killing of Sayyid al-Shuhada. On the eve of Ashura, Lady Zainab alayhi salam says to Imam Hussein, "Oh my brother, I hope your companions shall not desert you tomorrow and end up leaving you alone." Imam Hussein tells her, "Oh my sister, by Allah I have tested them. They are as intensely desirous of martyrdom as a child is of the milk and chest of its mother." On the eve of Ashura, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam addressed the companions and gave them permission to leave, should they desire, they had the choice. Each of them stood up and gave him their unflinching support for the Imam. And so he shows them their places in paradise, as a result of which their certitude, their yaqeen became haqqul yaqeen. That on the day of Ashura, they didn't mind every single pain of the injury caused to them by the swords and the spears of the enemies. My dear brothers and sisters, pay very close attention, whether we like it or not. Our body will get washed one day. Our body will be washed with 3 different types of water. It will be wrapped tight into a coffin. Those lips that once spoke your innocence will now testify with you or against you. And I want you to take a bird's eye view of your funeral just for a moment and see that your body is now laying resting on top of the planks on top of your grave, your new home. and you see your son or your daughter crouched over you, looking into this coffin, looking at the face of the one that used to kiss them every single morning. And I want you to pay close attention to what the individual is saying to your body at this point in time. It will say, Isma, ifham. Listen, understand, and then it will address you by name. Isma, ifham Muhammad. Isma, ifham Fatima. And this individual will tell you, وَأَنَّ الْمَوْتَ حَقٌّ. Death is true. وَسُؤَالَ مُنْكَرًا وَنَكِيرًا فِي الْقَبْرِ حَقٌّ. And the interrogation of Munkar and Nakir in the grave is true. وَالْبَعْثَ حَقٌّ. And the raising from the dead is true. وَالنُّشُورَ حَقٌّ. And resurrection is true. وَالْمِيزَانُ حَقٌّ. And the scale is true. وَالْجَنَّةُ حَقٌّ. And paradise is true. وَالنَّارُ حَقٌّ. The fire is true. And the hour of resurrection shall come, and there is no doubt about it. And Allah shall resurrect those who are in their graves. And again the man will say, أَفَهِمْتَ يَا Muhammad, أَفَهِمْتَ يَا Fatima. And they will shake your body at this point. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ya Allah, at this moment when I reflect on this grave of mine, this broken soul asks for your forgiveness. But unfortunately, my heart on this night is too hard to cry. I struggle with tears, and for that, cast your heads down, my dear brothers and sisters. Cast your heads down. How can I protect myself? How can I shed a tear that could be a sake of salvation for me? Imam Sadiq says that the one who weeps for Imam al-Hussein when he is mentioned before him, he will be rewarded by Allah Himself, even if the tears are as small as the wing of a fly. And Allah will not be pleased with any reward for them lesser than paradise. Ya Allah, allow us to shed a tear for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam then says, there is a fixed reward for every act except for shedding tears on us. Oh Allah, don't deprive us of crying for Imam al-Hussein. Allow me to cry these tears for Imam al-Hussein. It's said that Muslim ibn Awsaj enters the battlefield and he fights with such determination and fortitude in the face of great odds, but finally he would fall to the ground, he would be close to death, and he receives a barakah that many of us could only wish for, and may we have it. What happens? It said that Imam al-Hussein came running to the body of Muslim ibn Awsaj. Hussein addresses his companion. He says, may Allah have mercy on you, Muslim. Then he recites the ayah that among them is the one who has fulfilled his vow to death, and among them is the one who waits his turn and they have not altered in their commitment at all. Habib ibn Mudahir then comes towards him and says, by Allah, your passing is hard for me to see, O Muslim, well done for attaining paradise. Muslim responds in a very weak, final voice in his last breath to Habib. Muslim says to Habib, may Allah give you good tidings also. Habib says, if I wasn't going to follow your path in a short time myself, I would have asked you to inform me all of your last wishes. But Muslim replies and says, O Habib, my last request from you is about this man Hussein. And to fight in his defense until death overcomes you. Habib says, I swear it to you, and Muslim dies, may Allah elevate his status. I can't help but ask you, O Imam al-Hussein, you would run to the body of a Muslim. You would run to the body of Habib. You would reply to the call of Ali al-Akbar, Ya Abata adrikni, come to me, O father. You would reply to the call of Qasim, Ya Ammi adrikni, O my uncle, hasten to me, for they have struck me. And you would hold their head in your lap, O Hussein. You would wipe the blood from their eyes. You would remind them that they will now taste the sweetness of the fruits of a paradise. O Hussein, whose head, whose lap will your head be in at your final moment? Oh Hussein, what words would you hear last? Would you hear the words of an Imam, or would you hear the words of Shimr? Oh Hussein, when someone is buried and when they die, their body is shrouded and washed. What of your body, Hussein? A body is to be respected and handled with care. You would take your young sons and bury them into the ground. But oh Hussein, what about the body of the grandson of Rasulullah? Our awaited Savior says, فَلَأَنْدُبَنَّكَ صَبَاحًا وَمَسَاءً وَلَأَبْكِيَنَّ لَكَ بَتَلَ الدُّمُوعِ الدِّمَاء حَسْرَةً عَلَيْكَ. I will therefore lament you morning and evening, and will weep blood in place of tears. Why? وَتَأَسُّفًا عَلَى مَا دَهَاكَ وَتَلَهُفًا, out of my anguish for you and my sorrow for all that befell you. Oh Hussein, I ask you one last question. Whilst your head may be in the lap of an enemy of Allah, tell me after your death, tell me after your death, who now holds and slaps the cheeks of your daughter Sukaina? على لعنة الله على القوم الكافرين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. These very tears that you shed, don't underestimate their power. Believe in the ghaib. Don't underestimate the power of the tear that you have shed, and do not underestimate the azaa of Hussein that you conduct. And may Allah allow us to see the shifa of our tears in the hands of Sayyid al-Zahra fil akhirah. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.